In the peaceful village of Okemiri, where the mighty Oshimiri River reigned supreme, love and faith collided with ancient beliefs. On one fateful day, flames danced, screams pierced the air, and a woman paid the ultimate price for refusing to bow to a deity she didn't believe in. This is the tragic tale of Obiajulu, a tale of love, faith, and a choice that changed everything. A long time ago, in a faraway land, there was a village called Okemiri. The people of Okemiri were very happy and hardworking. They were known for their bountiful harvests and beautiful farmlands. Okemiri was a peaceful place, and the villagers lived simple but contented lives. But there was something special about Okemiri that made it different from other villages. In the heart of the village flowed a very big, powerful river called Oshimiri. The people of Okemiri believed that Oshimiri was not just a river, it was a powerful deity that listened to their prayers, blessed their farms, and watched over them. They believed that Oshimiri was the reason their crops grew tall and their harvests were the best in the land. To them, Oshimiri was like a mighty spirit that took care of everyone. Whenever someone had a need, a problem, or something heavy on their heart, they would go to Oshimiri River. They would kneel by the riverbank, talk to the river, and make their requests. Sometimes they would cry, sometimes they would sing, but they always spoke with deep respect. And when their wishes were granted, they would return to thank Oshimiri by bringing gifts, like yams, fruits, or even small handmade crafts. They would drop these gifts by the water, whispering their gratitude. There was one person in the village who was very important to Oshimiri. She was called Iznwanyi, the priestess of the river. Iznwanyi was a strong, graceful woman who had served Oshimiri for many years. People believed that Oshimiri spoke to her and told her important things. When the villagers needed guidance, they would visit Iznwanyi first. She knew all the sacred songs and stories, and she always spoke with a calm, gentle voice. Iznwanyi would lead the villagers in ceremonies and help them know what Oshimiri wanted. During the annual Oshimiri festival, she would dress in flowing white robes and lead the villagers to the riverbank. Everyone would sing, dance, and celebrate, thanking Oshimiri for the year's blessings. But Oshimiri had rules that everyone in Okemiri had to follow. The most important rule was that no woman who was on her period could step into the river. The villagers believed that doing so would make the river angry. If anyone broke this rule, they would have to make a special offering and ask for forgiveness. Another rule was that nothing with palm oil could be brought near the river, as palm oil was seen as impure. If someone accidentally did this, they would quickly rush to Iznwanyi to find out how to make amends. And on Eek market days, the river had to be left alone. No one was allowed to fetch water or bathe in the river on those days. It was a day of rest for Oshimiri, and disturbing the river would bring bad luck. Whenever anyone went to the river, whether to fetch water or bathe, they would first bow and speak softly to the river. Sometimes they would sing praises to Oshimiri before stepping in. The people of Okemiri believed that showing respect would make Oshimiri happy and keep them safe. In Okemiri, there lived a couple named Obiora and Obiajulu. They were different from most people in the village because they did not believe in the Oshimiri deity. Instead, they believed in the Almighty God. Because of this, the villagers saw them as rebels. Despite this, Obiora and Obiajulu were happy and loved each other very much. Obiora was one of the great farmers in Okemiri, known for his strong hands and good harvests. Obiajulu molded clay pots and was so skilled that people from nearby villages and even the city came to buy from her. Though they had no children, they were content, always finding joy in each other's company. Obiora loved helping his wife. Sometimes, he would cook while Obiajulu sat and watched, smiling at his little jokes. They would go to the stream together, and he would even wash her clothes sometimes. When Obiajulu was molding her pots, Obiora would sit by her side, chatting and helping where he could. Sometimes, when she wasn't busy, she would follow him to the farm and work alongside him. Some men in the village would laugh and call Obiora a woman rapper, saying that only women should cook and wash clothes. They couldn't understand why a man would help his wife so much. Some women envied Obiajulu, wishing their husbands were as kind and caring as Obiora. Others whispered that maybe Obiajulu had used a love charm on him. But Obiora didn't care. He just kept loving his wife the way he always did. Every Sunday, Obiora and Obiajulu would travel to a neighboring village to attend church. They would sing and pray, and their hearts would be filled with joy. Sometimes, they would come out in the morning to sing praises and tell people about God, encouraging them to believe in Him. Some villagers would listen out of curiosity, while others would shoo them away, saying, "Oshimiri is our God." Obiora and Obiajulu did not take part in the Oshimiri annual festival or any celebration related to the deity. This made the villagers even more certain that the couple was foolish and stubborn. Some would say that Oshimiri had made Obiajulu barren because they refused to honor the river. But the couple never lost their faith. They would read their Bible together and pray, their hearts filled with peace. Though the villagers mocked them, Obiora and Obiajulu remained strong and loving. They were sure that one day, things would change. But as time went on, tension started building. Some of the villagers were growing angrier with them. They feared that Oshimiri would punish the whole village because of the couple's refusal to show respect. People began to whisper about what Izinwanyi might say about it. Would she ask Oshimiri for a sign? Would the river show its anger? The air in Okemiri was getting heavy with worry, and everyone wondered what would happen next. One fateful year in Okemiri village, things took a bad turn. Crops did not yield well, and farmers suffered great losses. Because of this, famine struck the village, and people began to die from hunger. Even more frightening, people also started dying mysteriously. Hunters would go into the forest, but they would return empty-handed, shaking their heads in despair. Pregnant women struggled during childbirth, and many did not survive. Market women sat gloomily by their stalls, as sales were poor. Worse still, many couples who once hoped for children found themselves facing infertility. It was a dark time in Okemiri. Food became so scarce that families had to share whatever little they had. Neighbors helped each other, but it was never enough. The village was gripped by fear and sadness. In the midst of all this, something strange was happening. While everyone else suffered, Obiora's farm continued to produce crops, and Obiajulu's clay pot business thrived. People from the city and neighboring villages still came to buy her pots. The villagers could not understand it. How could the couple who didn't honor Oshimiri be the only ones prospering? Whispers filled the air. People grew restless and suspicious. Some accused Obiora and Obiajulu of using dark magic. Others believed that Oshimiri was punishing the village because of their rebellion. The villagers complained to the king, telling him about their hardships and how strange it was that Obiora and Obiajulu were unaffected. The king was deeply troubled. Night after night, he lay awake, thinking of what could be wrong. Desperate for answers, he summoned Izinwanyi. When Izinwanyi arrived at the palace, the king shared his worries. The priestess closed her eyes and began chanting softly. Suddenly, she gasped and spoke. Oshimiri is angry, she said. The deity has been defiled. The king's eyes widened. What must we do to make amends? He asked. Izinwanyi listed the items needed for the ritual and said it must be performed on Eek market day when no one would be at the river. The villagers gathered the items, and on the chosen day, Izinwanyi went to the river to perform the sacred rites. Days after the appeasement, things started to improve. Crops began to grow, farmers smiled again, and the market women made sales. Mysterious deaths stopped, and pregnant women safely delivered their babies. The village slowly returned to its peaceful self. The king called a village meeting and warned everyone to obey Oshimiri's rules. He made it clear that anyone who broke the rules would be punished to prevent another disaster. Despite the restoration of peace, the villagers still eyed Obiora and Obiajulu with suspicion. They couldn't understand why the couple remained unaffected during the hard times. It was a mystery that lingered in everyone's mind, leaving the villagers both curious and fearful. When Obiajulu found out she was pregnant, her heart raced with excitement. She couldn't wait to tell Obiora. As soon as he walked through the door, she rushed to him, her eyes bright with joy. Obiora, she whispered, trying to hold back her tears of happiness, I'm pregnant. For a moment, Obiora just stared, his mouth wide open. Then, without warning, he shouted, Praise God, and scooped her up in his arms, spinning her around. They both laughed and cried at the same time. Then, they knelt down right there, thanking God for this miracle. They prayed with so much joy that their voices filled the room. After that day, Obiora became even more protective and caring. He wouldn't let Obiajulu lift a finger. He made sure she didn't do any chores. He wanted her to just rest, eat, and be happy. One day, he suggested she stop molding pots completely. But Obiajulu shook her head with a gentle smile. Molding makes me happy, Obiora, she said. It keeps me busy and strong. Plus, I love making beautiful pots. Obiora didn't argue. Instead, he decided to keep her company whenever she molded. He would sit beside her, gently rubbing her feet, humming softly, and telling her stories. Sometimes, he would make funny faces just to make her laugh. Obiora didn't stop there. He made sure Obiajulu ate well. Whenever he went hunting, he would look for the biggest bushmeat and bring it home proudly. He would make the tastiest pepper soup, rich with flavor, just the way Obiajulu loved it. Whatever craving she had, he would find a way to satisfy it. If she wanted roasted corn in the middle of the night, Obiora would roast it. If she wanted fresh palm wine, he would hurry to get some. News of Obiajulu's pregnancy spread like wildfire in the village. Some of the villagers were stunned. They had always believed that her inability to have children was a punishment from Oshimiri for not bowing to the river. How could she be pregnant now? They whispered among themselves, confused and curious. Some were happy for her and praised her for being strong and keeping her faith. Others shook their heads, convinced that something strange must have happened. One evening, a group of women gathered at the village square, discussing Obiajulu's pregnancy. "Maybe the child is not Obiora's," one whispered. "Maybe she went to the river secretly and begged Oshimiri for a child," another said. But others defended her, saying that Obiora and Obiajulu were good people who didn't deserve such gossip. When Obiajulu went to the market to buy some food, some women came to congratulate her, while others just stared, whispering behind her back. She smiled kindly, refusing to let their words bother her. Obiora, on the other hand, stayed calm and focused on making his wife comfortable. He didn't care what people said. All that mattered to him was that Obiajulu was happy and safe. Despite the whispers, Obiora and Obiajulu remained unbothered. They would pray together every night, thanking God for the gift of their unborn child. They dreamed of the day they would hold the baby in their arms, and Obiora promised to be the best father. He would sometimes place his hand gently on Obiajulu's growing belly, whispering sweet words to the baby. The love between them grew stronger with every passing day, and even though some villagers didn't understand, Obiora and Obiajulu didn't let that dim their happiness. They were grateful, hopeful, and more in love than ever. One fateful Eek market day, Obiora was at the farm, and Obiajulu wanted to make lunch. Realizing they had no water, she grabbed a pot and hurried to the river, forgetting it was Eek market day. When she got there, she saw Iznwanyi inside the river, chanting and offering sacrifices. Suddenly, Obiajulu remembered it was forbidden to go to the river that day. Iznwanyi emerged and scolded her. Shaking with fear, Obiajulu apologized. Iznwanyi warned her to leave immediately and said she would need to appease Oshimiri. When Obiora returned from the farm, Obiajulu tearfully explained what happened. Obiora comforted her, promising that nothing bad would happen. But the next day, Iznwanyi visited and demanded sacrifices. Obiora and Obiajulu refused, saying they would not bow to Oshimiri. Furious, Iznwanyi warned that their disobedience would bring disaster. The villagers became anxious, fearing Oshimiri's wrath again. The king summoned Obiajulu, giving her 3 days to reconsider. On the second night, Obiora, torn between his faith and fear for his family, pleaded with her to go through with the ritual, but she refused, saying that they should not compromise their faith. When the 3 days passed, the king ordered Obiajulu to be brought to the palace. With the villagers gathered, Iznwanyi demanded that she make the sacrifice. Obiajulu still refused, saying, "I will not bow to Oshimiri. My faith does not allow it." Enraged, the king ordered the guards to set her on fire as punishment. The villagers gasped, some covering their mouths in shock. Obiajulu cried out, her heart pounding. The guards put a tire around her neck, poured fuel on her, and set her on fire. As the flames rose, Obiajulu cried out in pain, while the villagers watched in horror. Someone ran to the farm to tell Obiora. He rushed to the palace, shouting, "Stop," but by the time he arrived, Obiajulu was already half burned. Heartbroken and shattered, Obiora couldn't bear the pain. After burying his wife, he left Okemiri village, never to return. The villagers were left haunted by the tragedy, and whispers of guilt filled the air. The loss of Obiajulu left a mark on Okemiri that would never fade, and the people could not forget the day their beliefs cost them the life of a kind, innocent woman.